Hello and welcome to Macmol Literacy with me, Miss Matt Mullen. It's week 22 and today we are talking about religious studies and the isms. And I'm on a roll. In Macmol Literacy we have talked a lot about prefixes, so there's no need for me to tell you that a prefix is a collection of letters at the start of a word that alter its meaning. So you won't need to hear the example that when we are healthy, we are without disease in body or mind. But if we add the prefix "un" or "un", it flips that meaning and suggests that we are full of disease or simply not in as good health as we would be otherwise. So it changes the meaning by using that prefix, and that's really useful because we can recognise that prefix and we don't need to have heard the word unhealthy before. We can simply add our knowledge of that prefix to any words that we know, and it can help us to figure things out. Now a suffix is similar to that, except it is the few letters at the end of a word that change its meaning. Now all of our words today end in ism. Ism, we can now know, always means a belief, a philosophy, or a practice. So specifically what we are looking at today is approaches to religion. And I say approaches to religion, not different religions. So today we're not talking about words that mean that you are Muslim or Christian, Jewish or Hindu. We are looking at words that talk about your entire overall view of religion. So let's have a look at our first word. Now our first word is theism. Theism is the belief in one or more divine supreme creators. So something or some things that have created the whole universe and everything and everyone in it. Now in theism, you can, to a certain extent, interact with this God. So you could pray to it and it may or may not answer. You could witness miracles or read holy texts that have been sent from the God as messages or pieces of guidance. So this is an interactive God that, though we may not every day have access to, in the grand scheme of things, will intervene in the world. Deism, our second word, is very similar to that. It also believes in one or more supreme divine creators. However, in deism, this God or gods do not intervene. So they have no interest in answering prayers. They're not going to write any holy books and they're not going to perform miracles. Now this might be that they are so far above us that we simply don't matter. It might be that they are allowing us the space to flourish, thrive, or destroy ourselves in our own way. Or it might even be that they simply don't even know about us because they've created so much. So you can see that these two words suggest in some ways very similar approaches to religion and in some ways completely different. So they both believe that the universe was created by something, someone, some things, some people. And one of them thinks that these are still interacting in our lives in some ways, and the other thinks that they are not. So that's theism, the belief that the God or gods are interactive, and deism, the belief that the God or gods are not interactive in our lives. So straight away we have two big schools of thought regarding religion. Now let's look at our next word. This word is atheism. Now atheism is a rejection of the belief in a God. Now you'll see the word the coming up again. We had theism before, now we've got atheism. So you can see that that A there is flipping the meaning. It is going against the concept of a God. So atheism is saying, no, I do not believe that there was a creator or that there were creators that created the whole universe. Now our next word is agnosticism. Now sometimes agnosticism is misdescribed as being unsure of whether there is a God or not. However, the actual definition of agnosticism is the acknowledgement that our understanding of the universe is too limited to ever be able to prove whether there is a God or not. So it's simply saying, we will not know, we do not know. Finally, I want to throw in this fun extra word. It's pantheism. Now, you may have heard the prefix pan in other conversations before, such as pansexual. In this case, pantheism is the belief that God is in everything, or more specifically, that the universe and everything in it is God. So that God is everything and everywhere, but also nowhere. That God is not a separate being, but actually in the energy of the flowers and all of the animals and everything in the whole universe. So they are our words for today. Now, we're not going to be doing our Freya model like usual. I thought we'd do some tasks which would help us to differentiate between which term is which. But before we do that, we'll start off with our spellings. So, could you spell theism for me, please? Theism. And deism. Spell deism. Could you spell atheism? Atheism. And agnosticism. If you could also spell our bonus word, though I guess it's optional because it is a bonus, you could spell pantheism. If you've spelled theism correctly, and then stick a pan on the end, or no, on the beginning rather. Prefix it with a pan. And here are the correct spellings. There's some really tricky words in here, but at the same time, there's some, well, if you learn theism, it's going to help with a lot of the other ones. And let's try again. If you could spell theism. And deism. Atheism. Agnosticism. And pantheism. And check them once more before we go for our last time. And here we go, theism. Deism. Atheism. Agnosticism. And pantheism. Fantastic, and then check for the last time there. And what we're going to do now is we are going to move into a definition sort to see if you can remember which term goes with which definition. All you need to do is pause and write down the letter that matches with each number. So look through those definitions, look through the terms and decide which is which if you pause the video here. Excellent, and here are the correct answers colour coded. So if you take a moment to look at that, pause the video here, and then we'll have a look at putting them into some sentences. Wonderful. And now that you are more confident in knowing which term is which, if you're not, by the way, go back and try that task again, as many times as it takes. They're complicated, but once you've got them, you've got them. Now we are going to try and put them into some sentences. However, it's quite hard placing an abstract noun into a sentence because, well, you're always talking about it like a big abstract object, aren't you? So it's just like this person held their pantheism close to their heart, that kind of thing. Yeah, that works. Actually, that works pretty well. But it's often helpful to have the word as an adjective as well. So, of course, an adjective is a describing word, describes a noun. So we're going to turn these words into words that we could use to describe somebody who followed the philosophy, the religious viewpoint of each of these abstract nouns. So I've done that for you. I have given you the adjective, and you can see there you've got the option between the abstract noun, the thing that you can't quite touch but it's still a thing, atheism, deism, pantheism, agnosticism. But I've also next to it given you the adjective form, so the word that you would use to describe someone or something that followed this. Now what I want you to do is for each term, write one sentence. You can pick either the abstract noun or the adjective. You write out one sentence. So for example, atheism or atheistic. I would choose which one I want to use in a sentence. And then I would say, for example, his atheistic attitudes got in the way of him going to church functions. So it's describing him and the fact that he follows atheism, so he becomes atheistic. So if you could try that with each of those, you just need to do one sentence, either using the noun or the adjective. Wonderful. Now, we don't just have that big abstract noun and the adjective. We also turn a person who really follows one of these philosophies, views on religion, we would describe them as a noun that's all about that. So they become a concrete noun. It becomes a concrete noun. I'll show you what I mean. So a person who follows atheism is an atheist. They become the concrete noun atheist. Not all the time, just if you're talking about them in relation to that. Somebody who follows theism would be a theist. Somebody who follows deism would be a deist. Strangely, somebody who follows agnosticism would be an agnostic, which was also its adjective. It's both a concrete noun and an adjective. And finally, a pantheist is somebody who follows pantheism. This time you're going to be using those concrete nouns in a sentence. So I would like you to create a sentence that really defines what that person, what their views would be. So an atheist believes, something along those lines, to show that it's very clearly a concrete noun. Amazing. And that brings us to the end of today. I haven't got you to do dual codes today. We were just playing with some different tasks, a little bit of difference, but we'll probably be back to Freya models next week. I would encourage you yet again to like and subscribe and to watch next week's video. It was lovely speaking to you from the 22nd video.
Thank you for joining us for another week on Macamore Literacy. If you enjoy starting with a word and then ending up in a rambling journey to who knows where, then I suggest that you hit like and subscribe. Also, if you just want to be a pal, like and subscribe. See you next week.